you're not just anyone. You are here for a reason. And even if it takes you the rest of your life, you owe it to yourself to find out what that reason is.
Goodbye, my son. Our hopes and dreams travel with you.
He always believed you were meant for greater things. And that when the day came, your shoulders would be able to bear the weight.
What if a child dreamed of becoming something other than what society had intended for him or her? What if a child aspired to something greater?
My son was in the bus. He saw what Clark did.
What was I supposed to do? Just let him die?
There's more at stake here than just our lives, Clark. You have to keep this side of yourself a secret.
How do you find someone who has spent a lifetime covering his tracks?
You've grown stronger than I ever could have imagined. Keep testing your limits.
20 years in Gotham. How many good guys are left? How many stayed that way?
I have so many questions. Where do I come from? Why did you send me here? You're as much a child of Earth now as you are of Krypton. You can save them. You can save all of them.
Your world has sheltered one of my citizens. Surrender within 24 hours, or watch this world suffer.
One day, you're gonna have to make a choice. A choice of whether to stand proud in front of the human race or not.
Can you imagine how people on this planet would react if they knew there was someone like this out there?
Men fall from the sky. The gods hurl thunderbolts.
Count the dead. Thousands of people. He has the power to wipe out the entire human race.
You're gonna go to war. He is not our enemy.
Bruce, please, tell me, do you bleed? You will.
100 years ago, I walked away from mankind. From a century of horrors. Men made a world where standing together is impossible.
Superman was never real. Just the dream of a farmer from Kansas.
Man is still good. We fight. We kill. We betray one another. But we can do better. We have to.
I love you.
No.
We will give the people of Earth an ideal to strive towards.
The bell's been rung. The god is dead. And they've heard it.
I failed him in life. I won't fail him in death. We have to stand together. Help me find the others like you.
Find us, Bruce! You have to find us!
In time, they will join you in the sun. In time, you will help them accomplish wonders.
Welcome back, everyone. This is going to be my new Justice League Snyder Cut Trilogy trailer. Bet you didn't see that coming. Warner Brothers just dropped this, so I'll explain what's going on and what the state of things are, because Zack Snyder did have a trilogy of movies planned as part of his 5-movie arc, starting with Man of Steel and ending with Justice League 3. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. There'll be a lot more DC movie stuff happening in the next couple of months. There was also a recent interview with the writer of the movie, Chris Terrio, who also wrote Batman v Superman, so I'll explain what he said. He provided a better look at what's going on behind the scenes at the studio, and Zack Snyder has also done a lot of interviews talking about what he thinks is going to be going on with the future of his movies. The funny thing, too, is that if you look at Chris Terrio's IMDb page, it looks like somebody added Justice League 2 in development, like there's an actual Justice League Snyder Cut sequel that's happening, but I believe that's not true. IMDb is like a Wikipedia-style page where anybody can add anything to those pages. So just because you're seeing Justice League 2 on his page doesn't mean that that's actually happening. But just talking about this trilogy trailer first, the way that Warner Brothers cut this, they're basically calling the 3 DC movies that Zack Snyder directed the Justice League Snyder Cut trilogy. Now, he is credited as a producer on all the DC movies that feature characters that he originated. Like, he was a producer on the Wonder Woman movie. He did help Patty Jenkins with that a little. He even had a cameo scene during the movie that you all spotted. But by the time they got into like Wonder Woman 1984, a couple years down the road, I think his producer credits started to be more of vanity credits, and he didn't do as much work as he did on the first movie. Like, he probably just gave Patty Jenkins creative feedback on the film and offered support behind the scenes. But he wasn't running around on the set of the movie the way he was during the first Wonder Woman movie, and I think it's the same thing for the Aquaman movie that James Wan did. Like, Zack Snyder mostly just offers some creative input behind the scenes. He wasn't running around the set with James Wan. The 5-movie arc that Zack Snyder spoke about during interviews recently that he had planned was Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, then the 3 Justice League movies. But before he started talking about his arc of DC movies, originally I'd also assumed that he would do a direct Man of Steel 2 sequel to the first Henry Cavill film. But the funny thing is, the way Zack Snyder explained it, he actually designed Justice League 3, the last movie in the trilogy, to be a direct Man of Steel sequel, because it would have been mostly centered on Superman's character. He would have been featured way more prominently than most of the other Justice League characters. A lot of the Justice League Snyder Cut movie that we all just got done watching, the 4-hour cut, does revolve around Superman, but in that movie, he's really only featured on screen for a small portion of that 4-hour runtime. So presumably Justice League 3 would have been the last DC movie Zack Snyder had planned on directing. I mean, you never say never. But then I think his idea was that he would transition to more of a behind-the-scenes producer role and just pass the torch to someone else, the same way that Christopher Nolan passed the torch on to other people and said that he wasn't going to do more DC movies. Like, if you don't remember, Christopher Nolan actually was a producer and did help Zack Snyder make the Man of Steel movie, mostly offering creative input during the filmmaking process. That's why you see him in all the behind the scenes walking around the set with Zack Snyder. He was also one of the people who told Zack Snyder to never ever watch the theatrical cut of Justice League after he left the project, which I think was solid advice for him. Zack Snyder did already release his original story treatment for both the Justice League sequels, 2 and 3. Now, he referred to them as Justice League 2A and 2B during his original pitch to the studio, because I think they'd originally pitched them structurally the same way like Marvel had pitched Avengers Infinity War. Remember the original Avengers Infinity War teaser from Comic-Con way back in 2015, I think it was? It was just Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet spinning around and then the title reveal. But at the time, the title was Avengers Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2. They said that they changed the title of Part 2 to Avengers Endgame because by the time they'd finished writing the script, it no longer felt like a Part 2, and I think they're correct. Avengers Infinity War is a completely different movie tonally than Avengers Endgame. So I think it was kind of the same idea with Zack Snyder and the Justice League sequels, and he did say that he had already come up with the titles for all the Justice League sequels, like he wasn't going to call it Justice League 2 and Justice League 3. I believe based on the story treatment, Justice League 2 was going to be called Justice League United, and you can just leave all your guesses and your predictions for what Justice League 3's title would have been. I've already done a full breakdown video of what that story outline was and what happens to the characters and where the story goes and how they end Justice League 3, so I'll post a link for that video in the description. The story was pretty epic. There are a couple of controversial twists with what they do with this crazy love triangle with Batman, Lois Lane, and Superman, and Batman's supposed secret love child with Lois Lane in the future. But overall, it would have been a pretty epic story. But just to explain what's happening now in terms of Zack Snyder in the future of DC movies, currently the CEO of Warner Brothers Film Division has said that she wanted Zack Snyder to be able to finish his version of Justice League. So that's why she greenlit the Snyder Cut and gave him that $70, $80, $90 million to finish the movie, but that they had no plans to do any more Justice League Snyder Cut sequels. And Zack Snyder himself sort of corroborated this, said the same thing. He said he'd love to be able to do the sequels, but he'll believe they're going to happen when he sees it. He did say a long time ago that he had developed a plan with Jim Lee to do the story of the sequels as a comic book, but that when AT&T bought Warner Brothers, it sort of got lost in the shuffle, but that he would do that again if there was enough interest in it, which I think there is, so there's actually a pretty solid chance that you could see that story play out in a comic book series. Separately, he also said that he had plans to eventually do a Batman prequel comic book for Ben Affleck's Batman just to tell his version of A Death in the Family to explain the backstory on how Jared Leto's Joker killed Robin. That's part of the reason why he added Jared Leto's Joker to the Justice League Snyder Cut ending and all that new footage he shot, because he wanted to pay off some of that storyline that he teased back in Batman v Superman. Whereas normally you would just address that in, say, like the Ben Affleck version of the Batman movie. The other Batman scenes at the end of the film, the epilogue scenes, those tag scenes of Deathstroke and Lex Luthor, were meant to set up that Ben Affleck version of the Batman movie that would have come out between the Justice League sequels. And while they've already moved on to the Matt Reeves, Robert Pattinson version of the Batman movie, Joe Manganiello was recently trying to build hype for a Deathstroke HBO Max series. And just to explain what Chris Terrio was saying about the whole thing, he did this huge therapy session style interview with a magazine a little while ago where he aired his grievances against the studio in the making of Batman v Superman and Justice League. And some of the biggest takeaways that were when they brought him on to write Batman v Superman, nothing about the studio's plans at the time for the DC movie slate made any sense, at least according to him. Like, they didn't have any solid plans. They just knew that they wanted some release dates. They knew that they wanted these movies to come out, but nothing about the way they were bringing everything together with the characters and the story made any sense. And that now they're mostly just letting each of the new DC movie directors do whatever they want, and that when they want to do another Justice League film, they'll just shoehorn all the characters that they want into that and try to make it make sense. So hopefully that explains what's going on at the studio right now, but if we hear any news about Zack Snyder doing more DC projects, of course I'll do a video about that. What'll happen is I'll try to do a Fast 9 trailer video, and my full Falcon and Winter Soldier episode 5 video will post this Friday just like normal, but leave all your requests in the comments below. There'll be a lot more DC stuff happening really soon too. While you wait for everything, everyone click here for my Justice League Snyder Cut ending and end credit scene video, and click here for that brand new Marvel Falcon and Winter Soldier episode 5 trailer video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys tonight.